Hello everybody and welcome back to your computer science tutorial. This is section 6 video 5. It is the last video of this section, and it's actually a very advanced topic, so it might go into two parts. I'm not sure yet. But today's topic is classes. Now, classes are very, not confusing, but they're difficult to understand at first. So, in our game, we have different scripts, such as the inventory script, or if we go to our script file, all of these scripts right here. Now, technically, every one of these scripts is a class, all on its own. You don't have to do much to make a script. And just for ease of showing this, I'm going to create another C# file. I'm going to create I'm going to create a JavaScript file, and actually a C# file might help elaborate the point a little more. But this is going to be called an item. Now, we're just gonna we're saying that this item is a class, something that's a class we can call upon. So what does it mean to say that? Well, when we create a variable, we have separate classes. Say we want to make some object. We call upon objects, and we have an obj, and we want to call upon the game object class. We're creating a game object, and a game object is something that holds information. So instead of doing this, we can have our items class here, and let's say our item is going to have a name, and the name could be a string. It could have let's say you wanted a system for converting things to money. You could have a variable for value, and value could be a float, or flat if you type like me. And maybe that value is inherently 5 to start out with. It can have a whole bunch of different variables, but that's not it. Let's say we have so let's say that maybe we want to sell this object, I'm not sure, or set the value of this object. This is easily done, but let's say we want to do it in a different script. What we used to have to do is we used to have a reference to whatever this object's component is on, and then we'd have to use the if you remember, send message, and you'd have to give it a direction, a value, things like that. Instead of doing that, we can actually create a function in here like normal. So we'll have the function set value, and value will take in a parameter. Let's call it temp, and it's going to be of type float. And what this function is going to do is just going to set value equal to temp. And these can get a lot more complex too. It's not just setting objects. This is just an example. So we have this. It's going to show that this is functional. But let's say if we want to do this in our inventory script. We want to change the value of something. Maybe after you've worn it for some amount of time, you want to change the value. This script loads. I think my computer is getting confused because I have two scripts. Okay, there we go. In this inventory script, on update, maybe we want to maybe actually when we click this and remove the thing. Now, because I don't have a reference to it, I need to check the things for if things dot get component, not in child, just get component, and if it's of type item, which we now decided that's going to be a class, so it's of type item, then we want to do something, and we want to set we want to do things dot Or actually, this is not really a good example. But we'll work with it. We'll work with it. Things like get item, and then we want to do set value, right? That's what we named it. And everything in our item script got deleted, of course. Let's hope it didn't. And I'm gonna open up our item script again. Just do a little prayer. There we go. Okay. You go back here, and then what was it was set, yes, it was set value, and it takes a float, and we want to just set it to 5, and now we're just gonna put it on the sphere, because I can tell the sphere apart between the other two, and we're gonna add the item script to here. And now if we can't set it back to 5 if it's already 5. Let's make it subtract from the value, actually. And make it subtract 1. So maybe we want to track how much they've picked it up. Now if we save these, and if I were to just make sure that this it's okay, it's on here. And if we were to run this game, pick up this item, and then we're going to drop it. Forget how to drop. Wasn't it 2 to drop? I'm not sure. One minute. F to drop. F. There we go. And now if we were to click this right here, go back to our item script, you see it's decreased. So this is a whole new way of referencing things. However, it's not just simply as sending messages now, because now we can directly influence the value. So say we want to directly change the value, so you just call upon this value thing, this valuable variable. And it's going to say this expression value will equal now because this is a variable, you have to give it a value. Will minus equal 1, and I can do the same exact thing. And now you might be wondering, well, what is this useful for? Well, a lot of the time, you will not really want to be sending lots of messages, because sending messages is slow. Directly manipulating the information, now that's fast. And especially when you want to have a listing of objects in an array. Now if all of these game objects, you have the game object, you could send them separate messages. But if you just want to check, say you wanted to check something, say instead of looking at what value, it was saying instead of changing value, you can now look at what value is currently right now. And with that information, you can make more complex decisions. So I'm just going to bring this full circle now. So the idea is that in this class, your class wants to be broad enough that it can define different objects. Say it's a fruit class, it has pineapples, peaches, apples, things like that. But they're all their own entities too. So you can actually differentiate between, say you have an item that's a spear versus an item that's a shield. They're different objects. But say you have an item that's a spear, and then you have another item that's just a little bit longer, stronger spear, then you don't have to make multiple items. You could just make this script change the items slightly based on how you want it to be different, which I guess would be the power behind classes. Classes aren't really as complex in JavaScript as in C#. C# has a much stronger class system, but for our purposes, this is all we need. So that's it for classes. This is only going to be a one-parter. But it's a complex topic, but if you ever see someone reference an object like if we go over to now you hear me lying. So if we because this exists now we can also do variable item, and we can store it as an item. And if I save this won't give me an error, because now we have a class that's item. So we can store this class, and you see I don't have an error here. And look at we just found a new way of making a variable type, which is very powerful, and it allows us to much more than what we used to be able to do. So that's pretty much the main point of this tutorial, I guess.